Hello, everybody. It's Mark Sage, Executive Director of the AI for Enterprise Alliance area again. I hope everyone is well. This is our fireside chat. We've been doing many of these with industry experts right across the kind of ecosystem. And I'm really excited to have one of our latest members. It's Inga from ShapesXR. Inga, maybe you can introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background.
Thank you, Mark. I'm really excited to be here today at this fireside chat. So I'm Inga. I'm founder and CEO of ShapesXR, collaborative design and product shaping tool for immersive content. And my background is engineering. So I basically have 2 degrees in engineering, computer science, information technology. My working background is mostly, emerging technology, very innovative technology, and find the ways to introduce that to the market and really making them more applied. And so I spent quite some time in big tech. And this entrepreneurial journey started almost 8 years ago.
And ShapesXR is an amazing tool, and if you haven't tried it, I recommend you do. But what inspired you to create ShapesXR, and what kind of problems did you want to solve from the start?
So it's worth mentioning that ShapesXR is kind of a product that we built for our own team. And the reason for that was the daily pain we've been experiencing building XR app for the headset back then. And that pain came from the fact that it was very hard to get aligned, to communicate your ideas, to kind of, from the product vision towards design and then development, it's been all very, very water flow and quite broken. And coming, from engineering and programming backgrounds, we all were like, no, that has to be more agile. That definitely has to be more iterative process. And it shouldn't be that expensive and that complicated to bring your idea and communicate your idea around, spatial interactions, around, the whole spatial experience, because the way we've been working prior to Shapes was like, you can sketch it somewhere, you can jump right into modeling stuff, or you go directly into Unity. And then once you have the Unity APK, you browse that one, but there was no way to collaboratively, review that and discuss. You've been posting notes somewhere, and then it was all broken. And again, it was very, very slow. But a lot of times we found them ourselves, okay, so we have to find a compromise. We already spent several weeks. We just have to implement it as is, even though we are not happy. We are not happy with user flow. We are not happy with how things kind of work or how intuitive they are. We already spend too much time to redo the things. And especially we spend the time on coding, which is the most expensive part of the entire backflow. So the idea behind Shapes is that what if an XR team or anyone who wants to build an app or experience for the headset can very, very early on get together in a shared space. So collaboration was number one. So very, very easy way to, meet as a team in a shared space. And then you start body storming, meaning that you have all the tools available to express yourself in 3D. And that was the second important thing, that it's not just like we are hanging out, as a team being immersed, but the goal was that we can actually start expressing ourselves. So we have some basic modeling tools, we have some basic library of various primitives and shapes so that we can do things, we can bring our own models. So again, real-time collaboration, ease of use, because at early stage of your idea expression, you want to stay in the flow. You don't want to learn any UI. You don't want to learn how to use the tool. You really want to just, be in the flow of ideating on the variety of ideas. And then later on, we realized that you also want to shape that idea, meaning that you need more powerful tools to actually make your prototype really expressive and vivid, so that you can communicate that to developers or stakeholders. I've been noticing that so many developers were failing explaining what they're building for XR, so they could not get funded. They could not convince their management in big enterprises to give them funding because they were showing some slides or they were showing some rough prototypes, and no one was convinced, even though the idea was probably pretty interesting and it was like just very, very hard for them to explain that idea. So the goal in Shapes is that you can build a very, very interactive prototype so that you can immerse your stakeholders and then they can experience that idea instead of just looking at some slides or rendered video that are nothing to do with actual experience. So no, you immerse them into the experience, which is very, very close to final, being interactive, animated, and very expressive of what you're trying to achieve. So again, so the idea and the goal behind Shapes is to help XR teams build better products for the variables and fail faster. I mean, it might sound kind of interesting, but you do want to allocate small budget to test your idea, to iterate on that, right? And then you only implement something that you're kind of tested with your end users. You got the green light from your stakeholders. So empower the teams to really build better content, meaningful experiences and apps, and also bringing subject domain experts early on so that they can also participate in your ideation process.
Which is great. And I guess the question I'd like to go on to, because, collaboration is a really important piece with any design process, but actually even more important when it becomes to kind of spatial design. So can you maybe talk a little bit how you see ShapesXR changing the way that teams collaborate and create in the XR ecosystem?
This is a great question. And we even were looking at our analytics data to see what is actual aha moment in Shapes, right? So, and we realized that people who stick with the tool, people who spend hours in the tool daily, and people who we can call power users or really dedicated users and clients are those who spend time and minutes in Shapes with other people. So as soon as you see an avatar of another person interacting with your design or in real time applying some changes, suggestions, helping you improve your idea, is that aha moment that teams and designers can experience. So for the first time, actually, there is a shared environment for a designer, developer, and probably a CEO or head of marketing or head of sales, being empowered by co-designing together. Because as we know, design is not just for designers. Early on, design is about solving a business problem. So solving a problem of your client. And sometimes it's not just the designer who owns the knowledge. It might be, the salesperson who is talking to clients more often, or that might be the CEO, or that might be, customer success, and you want them to contribute to the product being developed. So collaboration and what even designers and developers I keep mentioning to us. So the fact that they can bring subject domain experts, sometimes end users early on, is so significant to build better products, to have much better design. The fact that they can run user tests early on is also crucial, right? It's not like you have to invest millions of dollars to build the app. No, as soon as you have an interactive prototype, you can bring your end users and start user research to make your app, very delightful, from user flow perspective, get valuable feedback early on. And that's only possible because Shapes is very friendly and welcoming, because the UI doesn't look like a tool or like complicated 3D software. So it's very welcoming. And that's why we've been having this feedback a lot of time, that teams are bringing subject domain experts, and that could be a surgeon from healthcare, or that could be, even like a boxer, professional boxing kind of even champion, that another app was bringing in to get some, input for what they're building. Or that could be a person who is doing maintenance work in the field, and then you're designing app for that. Or actual end user for automotive, the person who is driving, the car, that can bring some valuable input, how to make it, better design and, address the challenge in the best possible way. So this very diverse type of collaboration is crucial. And from technical perspective, when I say real-time collaboration, is cross-platform. You can be on almost any device. And the very small percent of people who, for example, don't want to wear a headset. And it might happen. Or you are like super, super busy. You just need to very quickly check the design. We also have the web editor. So in the web browser, you can still explore it in 3D, right? It's still like quite immersive, even though it's not at human scale. It's not like with the realistic distances, and it's harder for mixed reality, but it's still powerful because as a designer, if your stakeholders don't have a headset, you can still communicate your ideas and get feedback.
I think that point's super important, that it needs to be multi-platform because you're not always sure. I loved a bit, Inga, about the end users, bringing them in. We did, as you probably know, we do lots of area research, and one of the early projects was about end user buy-in. And if you don't get it, or if you don't really understand the problem they're solving, they will not use the solution. So I think bringing them in really early in the project is great, and then you get real champions who are then going champion it in the workspace and things like that. So yeah, that's some amazing insights. Thank you. Let's go on to the final question then. And Inga, some really interesting work that you're doing, but what's the future hold? What's next for ShapesXR, and what kind of future innovations, directions are you most excited about?
I mean, probably highly expected that I say AI. And indeed, that's a crucial part. And the crucial part of that is that it allows us to be even more efficient, even more creative, even more, build better designs. But the core thing here is that we want you to never be alone in ShapesXR. By that, I mean that you can have a co-pilot that you can ideate with, that you can build together, that you can brainstorm together. And that's something that is trained for a specific vertical, your context, whether you are a UX designer, a product person, or you build trainings for healthcare. So it should really know about your domain, your context. And then imagine that even if you don't want to engage your team super, super early on, you want to brainstorm, you want to really present some kind of validated ideas to your team, then you can have that so-called AI co-pilot that helps you to unlock creativity, never get stuck, or keep improving your design. But in a shorter term, I would say that our biggest goal is that it's not just like, the headset for headset or glasses for glasses. No, we do leverage the power of this technology. And the power of this technology is that you are in 3D, and that's why everything feels so familiar to you, because you can behave like you do in real life. If you want to grab anything, you just grab. If you want to delete, you just throw that away. And then you have real distances, you have actual human scale. And that's why we do want to introduce our more traditional design. We want people to redesign this world with the help of VR, because right now it's immediately for XR team, they understand the value. It's really doesn't make sense to build a spatial app on a flat screen. But it also doesn't make sense to build and design our real world venues, our real world spaces, and anything industrial design or robotics on a flat screen, because you can do that in 3D at actual scale. And then it's so much easier to avoid some mistakes, very, very expensive mistakes. So that's why we are adding additional, functionality to talk to that audience. And that audience is industrial design, real world design, designing of facilities. And we already have clients that are planning a hospital in Shapes because early on they want to step and walk into something that does not exist. Or they're planning an operating room for a surgeon and they can invite the surgeon in. Or there are clients who are doing, a great marketing conferences for automotive. So there are lots of inspiring use cases, but this is a new market for us. It's not like XR teams. Those are just the teams doing their business. We just bring them the new technology. And it has to be very familiar, very convenient. The UI shouldn't be there. So we just allow them to mimic the real world. I don't like to use this digital twin thing. It might be confusing, but basically this is a digital replica and it's so much more intuitive and easy to use compared to any flat screen 3D tool. So to summarize, I would say we are super excited about AI Copilot to help you be creative. We are super excited about AR glasses. Its form factor is an important thing, and all the kind of upcoming AR glasses are very promising and powerful. So we want to support those glasses, and I hope that this is when this whole innovation comes to actual business units, not just within R&D and innovation departments. Yeah, and then, you know, this is the time when we will redesign our world.
Amazing. And that's a great place to stop. So looking forward to seeing you redesign the world and working with you. Thank you for being an area member, and looking forward to continuing work with you. And thank you for your insights today, Inga. They've been great.
Thank you for making this happen and for uniting all us, you know, speaking about it and making a difference. Thank you.